How long should a chain be? 3 drivers that turn length from accident into deliberate design. How long should a tool chain be? 2 tools, 5, more. Most coaches have never asked that question out loud, so they default. Either one-offs repeated session after session, each session a fresh start with no connection to what came before, or sprawling sequences that keep adding links because more feels more thorough. Neither of those is design. Length is a design choice. And like all design choices, it has real criteria. Understanding those criteria is what gives you actual judgment instead of habit. 3 things drive the right length for a given client and engagement. First, issue depth. Is this a contained single thread question? One decision, one transition, one defined challenge? Or is this a multi-layer developmental arc? Something that involves remaking a pattern across multiple dimensions of the client's life and work. A contained question and a life-level shift call for entirely different chain lengths. Second, session count. How much container does the chain have to run in? A 3-session engagement and a 12-month engagement aren't just different in duration. The chain needs to fit what's available. Third, client readiness and integration pace. Some clients arrive at each session having done significant internal processing. Others need more time per link before they're ready for the next one. Picture a client with one contained question. Should I take this promotion? A 2-tool chain, values clarification, then a decision matrix is plenty. The values work produces the criteria. The decision matrix consumes them. Clean, purposeful, complete. The client gets what they came for. Stretching that to 6 tools wouldn't add depth. It would add drag, and it would quietly communicate something problematic to the client, that a clear, well-defined question is actually more complicated than they thought, which is usually the opposite of service. 2 well-sequenced tools beat 6 loosely connected ones. That's precision, not limitation. The skill is knowing when 2 is enough. Now picture a 6-month leadership engagement with a client who's remaking how they show up across their entire role. Here, a longer chain earns its length. Discovery first, locating the client, understanding the landscape. Then awareness work, naming the patterns, the gaps, what the client doesn't yet see about themselves. Then experiments in real-time practice. Then reflection on what those experiments revealed. Then integration, consolidating what's changed into a stable new way of operating. 5 or 6 links, each producing what the next needs. The length isn't there because the coach wanted to be thorough. It's there because the developmental arc genuinely requires each stage. The skill is telling these 2 situations apart before you start chaining. Pause here. Take a current engagement you're in right now. What length does it actually call for? 2 or 3 tools for a contained issue or a longer developmental arc? Justify your answer in 1 sentence. Use the 3 drivers: issue depth, session count, client readiness. Not, I want to do this right. An actual design rationale. Take a moment with that. The answer you give now is useful information about whether your current chain matches the work. A long chain is not more thorough. That framing is the trap. A chain stretched past the arc it actually serves quietly signals to the client that their work is bigger and harder than it is. It shifts your attention from the person to the plan. You start tracking links, managing sequence, keeping the chain coherent, instead of staying fully present to the person in front of you. This is the overtooling pattern from Module 1, showing up at the engagement scale. Overtooling doesn't just happen within a session, it happens across an engagement when you add links the client no longer needs. Match the chain to the arc, not to your anxiety about doing enough. So, length is a design decision. 3 drivers: issue depth, session count, client readiness. Short chains for contained work. Longer chains only when the developmental arc genuinely requires the additional stages. The test is whether each link earns its place by producing something the next link needs to consume. And here's what makes this more interesting. Length isn't fixed at the start. It's a design decision you revisit as the engagement unfolds. Real chains grow, branch, and get pruned as the work progresses. Those 3 live engagement moves are next.